Let me paint you a picture. It's the 1930s. There's a 10-year-old boy kneeling at the front door of the Mainland Bank in Texas. Now, to anyone passing by, he's just a shoeshine boy. But he's not there for the loose change. He's there for a secret that was going to change the face of America. You see, with every slow, deliberate wipe of his cloth, young Bernard Garrett was playing a part. He made himself invisible. But his ears were wide open, soaking up every word from the wealthy white bankers walking in and out, talking deals, strategy, a whole world he was never supposed to be a part of. He wasn't just listening, he was stealing their secrets, their million-dollar formulas, their whole way of thinking. And every single night, he'd go home, open up a little secret notebook, and write it all down. This notebook, this was becoming his arsenal, the blueprint for a plan that would rock the very foundation of the system that was trying to keep him out. Now, when his father found that notebook, can you imagine? On one hand, he saw his son's absolute genius, but on the other, he was terrified. He knew the brutal reality of America in those days. He knew that no matter how brilliant Bernard was, the world was rigged against him. And that was the very wall Bernard decided he was going to tear down. Okay, let's fast forward 15 years. Bernard moves his family out of Texas, away from all that suffocating prejudice, and heads for the city of dreams, Los Angeles. He's got this vision, this plan to take over the real estate market. But he absolutely knows he can't do it alone. So he finds a partner in this incredibly charismatic guy, Morris Lightfoot. And you couldn't find two more different people. Bernard was the quiet genius, the numbers guy, who saw the whole chessboard. Morris was the life of the party, a nightclub owner who knew everyone in town. It was a perfect match, you know? Bernard was the mind, but in the 1950s, to get in the door, they still needed a face. So here's the first brilliant, kind of crazy plan. Bernard teams up with this friendly Irish property owner, and the setup was genius. Bernard, the black man, the actual mastermind, would do all the hard math, all the tough negotiations, everything over the phone. But when it came time to actually sign the papers, the Irishman would walk in and be the acceptable white face. They couldn't get in the front door, so they just figured out a way to own the whole building from the back. And man, did it work. They were making money hand over fist. But then, tragedy hits. The Irishman dies, just suddenly. So Bernard goes to his widow to claim his half of their empire, and she hands him just a tiny fraction of what he's owed. And she tells him to his face she'd never do business with a black man. Their entire deal was just a handshake. He had no legal proof. He was locked out. Again. But you know what? That betrayal, as humiliating as it was, it didn't break him. Oh no, it just poured gasoline on the fire. He's standing outside this big bank that wouldn't help him, and he looks up at this massive skyscraper it's in, and he has this thought, why fight for a piece of the pie when you can just buy the whole damn bakery? This is where they come up with their masterstroke. They decide to create the perfect front man from scratch. They find this guy, Matt Steiner, just a regular, working-class white guy. And they begin to mold him. Morris teaches him how to dress, how to talk, how to play golf with the big shots. And Bernard, with that incredible mind of his, drills him on numbers, day and night, until Matt could spit out complex financial formulas in the middle of a golf swing. And the result? Oh, the result was unbelievable. With Matt as their face, they didn't just buy that one bank building they were after. They ended up secretly buying 177 buildings across Los Angeles, a lot of them in all-white neighborhoods where Bernard and Morris themselves weren't even allowed to live. And the financial genius behind it all was just staggering. I mean, on that main bank building deal alone, Matt, using the formulas that Bernard had basically burned into his brain, talked the price down from $2.5 million to $1.5 million. That's a full $1 million savings. They weren't just playing the game, they were changing the rules. So by 1963, Bernard Garrett is a millionaire, a titan. He'd done it. He'd beaten the system that tried to crush him. But a trip back home to Texas showed him that his personal victory, it didn't mean much if his community was still trapped. This is where the story stops being about getting rich, and it starts becoming a crusade. I mean, you really have to ask yourself, why would he go back? He got out. He won. But when he gets home, he sees nothing has changed. The hate, the oppression, it's all still there. He even runs into a young black shoeshine boy who tells him, "Oh, I only shine white people's shoes." And in that moment,
Bernard sees himself as a little boy again, and he knows his real work is far from over.
So he starts digging, and what he uncovers is what he calls a deep and disgusting conspiracy. The white-owned banks in Texas were designed, on purpose, to keep the black community poor. They'd set loan terms that were impossible to meet, interest rates that would crush you. The goal was simple: make sure no black person could ever own a business, ever own a home, and lock them into servitude forever. So Bernard's new plan is even more audacious. He's not going to fight the system from the outside anymore. He's going to buy it. He decides he's going to buy the main bank in his hometown, and, using Matt as the face, of course, he would secretly start giving fair loans to black business owners, to families trying to buy a home. He would use the bank's own power to destroy the very system of oppression it was built on. And they did it. They actually pulled it off. The bank was a huge success, and for the first time ever, the local black community had a real shot. But when you shine a light that bright, it attracts attention, and the pressure started to build. Not from the outside, but from right inside their own perfect machine. And then, it all came crashing down. A suspicious employee tips off the feds. The pressure gets to Matt, and he flips. He betrays them. In court, senators basically offer Bernard a deal. Just say you did it all for greed, and you can walk away. He refused. He chose prison over staying silent. He got on that stand and used his testimony to expose the entire racist banking system for the whole country to see. And his testimony, it was a bombshell. It was broadcast everywhere, laying bare the ugly truth about how banks were discriminating against people. The public outcry was massive, and Congress couldn't ignore it. Just 3 years later, partly because of the undeniable proof Bernard put on the record, Congress passed the Fair Housing Act of 1968. Because of his fight, it became illegal everywhere in America to deny someone a loan because of the color of their skin. You have to picture this scene. On the day he gives that explosive testimony, Bernard doesn't walk into the federal courtroom in a fancy suit. He walks in wearing a janitor's uniform, and when he speaks, he delivers this devastating line. It was an act of protest so powerful, so defiant, that it just echoed through history. So the story's over, right? He lost the empire, he lost his freedom, he went to prison, the system won. But Bernard Garrett, the little boy who built a life on listening to secrets, well, he always had one more of his own. The night before the verdict, Bernard knew how it was going to go. He knew they'd take everything. So he makes one last call to Matt. He tells him to take all his remaining cash, every last dime the feds didn't know about, and buy 2 houses in the Bahamas. One for him and one for Morris. So when Bernard Garrett finally walks out of prison, to the outside world, he's a broken man who lost everything. But he's got this little secret smile on his face. See, he lost his buildings, but his sacrifice helped change the laws for an entire nation. The government took his empire, but he had already secured his own freedom on a quiet little beach. Which really leaves you with one question, doesn't it? Did he really lose?